Hi, and welcome everybody to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It's the last day of September or November, excuse me. It's November the 30th. Tomorrow is December the 1st. And like every Thursday, I'm joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. Chip Chirimbus was supposed to join us today, but he had some personal issues and can't make it today. And that's okay. We're going to pick up the slack. And Doug, first of all, how are you?
I'm doing well, Ross, and yes, hey, and I'm a really good slack picker-upper, okay, on that. So you can count on me, okay, from that
Yeah.
standpoint. And no, so hey, excited for another NFL week. It's first time all year I'm discussing NFL football, I believe, with you.
Oh,
So that's
wow.
a little different treat because we've been doing college, all along. I'm pretty sure on that. Might be wrong by one day or something like that, but yeah, but we've been doing that. So talk some NFL, and hey, won 7 of the last 10 weeks on that, and hitting 75% of the best bets in the last, I think it's 8 weeks on that. So yeah, so I'm excited to talk about it and cover some areas here.
Yeah, it's the first Thursday we're discussing the NFL with you, but we did do the Thanksgiving show
Right. With
the
yes,
Monday before Thanksgiving, and
yep.
we did well as I recall. But in any event, we got three games we're going to discuss today. Chip was supposed to be covering the 49ers and the Eagles, and me and Doug will give our opinions on that game. But Doug is going to be looking at the game between the where's my
Packers
schedule?
and the Chiefs.
Packers and the Chiefs. And right now, the Chiefs are a 6-point favorite, total 42.5. I'm going to be looking at the Lions and the Saints. And right now, the Lions are a 4-point road favorite, and the total in that game, 47. Let's start with this San Francisco and Philadelphia game. The game will be played in Philadelphia. And like we're talking off air, boy, oh boy, you know the way I think when I see odd situations like this one smells as fishy as a carp because you got a 49ers team that's lost 3 games this year. They're a 2.5-point favorite at the Eagles, who have an NFL league best 10-1 record, haven't lost at home yet this year. And yet the 49ers come up as a small favorite here. The total in this game is 47.5. I think that's the part of the equation I'm going to be discussing, but I'll leave it up to you, Doug, to discuss whatever you want to in terms of this matchup.
Yeah, just in a general sense, I think this is just a tough scheduling situation for Philadelphia, to be perfectly honest. Off two tough emotional games from that standpoint. I mean, it's just you can't just keep bringing the emotion each and every time. Okay, and that's part of the problem that I think you got here for Philadelphia. Plus, I have not seen officially yet, but Fletcher Cox and Zach Cunningham were hurt last week, and for Philadelphia, and they're a little bit thin at linebacker, and they're going up against a rushing offense of San Francisco that can get the job done. I think we've seen how McCaffrey's done this year. I think by and large, so he's been really good, and I just think they're just going to come at him. San Francisco also has the revenge angle, even though it's revenge in the sense that they lost to Philadelphia in the NFC Championship, but not having their quarterback certainly had a dramatic impact on that game. Nonetheless, it is a revenge situation for them. So yeah, so I'm going to be inclined here to take San Francisco minus the points on this particular matchup, just because. And then the other thing you mentioned, just the rarity of a team having a 9-1 record being a home underdog.
Yeah, to Doug's point, Philadelphia's last 3 games, home against Dallas, at Kansas City, and home against Buffalo. That game went overtime last week. They beat Kansas City by 4, overcoming a 17-7 halftime deficit in both games, and also overcame a halftime deficit against Dallas as well in a 28-23 home win. The thing is, and you mentioned a running game for San Francisco, fully capable of running the ball very effectively against Philadelphia, especially when you consider the fact this is a Philadelphia defense that the last 2 weeks has given up 173 on the ground to Buffalo and 168 to Kansas City. And then I'm also concerned with Philadelphia's defensive play overall. I mean, they gave up 472 yards to Washington back on the 29th of December, 4 games ago. They give up 406 against Dallas. They give up 336 to Kansas City. Not bad. Okay. And again, we're going to talk about Kansas City later, but I think the strength of that team is their defense more than their offense right now, which seems pretty weird to say with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. But like I said, the big concern in that Kansas City game was they gave up 168 yards on the ground and over 5 yards a carry. And then you look at last week against Buffalo. Not only was Buffalo able to run the ball on them, but they racked up 505 yards of total offense. And with the exception of the interception on a great play by James Bradbury, Josh Allen had his way with them. So, but their offense bailed them out again. The 37 points against Buffalo, 28 against Dallas, 38 against Washington. The game before that, 31. So it's not like the Eagles' offense is suffering right now. It seems to be their defensive play. And then we look at the San Francisco 49ers over their last 3 games. Since going in that 3-game skid, which left everybody scratching their head, they've won their last 3, scoring 34 against Jacksonville, 27 against Tampa, 31 against Seattle, 377 yards, 420 yards, and 437 yards. And if you go back to their loss against Cincinnati, which was their last loss, they racked up 460 yards in that game. So I just think that this is going to be a high-scoring affair. It might go right down to the wire. I agree with Doug. I would have an early lean right now on San Francisco for the reasons Doug mentioned. And I'm also going to have a lean here on the total, Doug, of over 47.5.
Yeah, and one other thing that goes to both what you're saying and what I'm saying is I believe Philadelphia going into last week's game was 31st in third down defense. And last week, I believe they gave up 7 first downs on 3rd and 7 or longer.
Yeah.
And with the San Francisco running game, typically they don't get into a lot of 3rd and longs. So if they're 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 on a regular basis, you just think that they're going to keep Philadelphia's defense on the field too.
Yeah, it seems weird that Buffalo had so many 3rd and longs in that game, considering they ran for 173 yards and gained 505 yards on the game. But I think what put Buffalo behind the sticks on a lot of those occasions, Doug, was their 11 penalties they committed. Yeah. So San Francisco is a much more disciplined team in that regard. And like you alluded to, with their running game against Philadelphia's defensive struggles and stopping the run over the last 2 games, I don't foresee the 49ers being in a lot of 3rd and longs. They're probably going to be playing ahead of the sticks on most occasions. So, all right. So Doug has a lean toward the San Francisco 49ers, laid at 2.5 on the road at Philadelphia. My lean right now is on San Francisco and Philadelphia to go over the total of 47. All right. Let's get to the games we actually were assigned. And you're going to be looking at the matchup, Sunday night matchup, between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers. And, Doug, all of a sudden, this matchup is a little more intriguing than I thought it would have been, or maybe you even thought it would have been a few weeks ago. Kansas City is a 6-point road favorite. The total is 42.5. And don't look now, but the Packers have won a couple in a row.
Yeah, even after though watch Kansas City and the Raiders, my initial reaction when I saw Kansas City at 6, I thought, you know what, Kansas City, their offense looked good, and they finally scored some points in the second half against the Raiders, so they look good. Their receivers stopped dropping passes. Packers, great win at Detroit, but that was the second largest upset on a Thanksgiving Day game. So I thought, you know what? Kansas City should roll on this one. But Ross, then I started digging around some of the numbers here. And even though the Chiefs won handily against the Raiders, that's, the Chiefs beating the Raiders on the road is kind of like the sun setting in the west. Okay. It seems to happen very frequently. Though I have some reservations still about Jordan Love in the NFL as a starting quarterback, there's no denying in his last 4 games, he's definitely improved. And the Packers offense has generated 375 or more yards in 4 straight games. Then my curiosity, Ross, was piqued to go a little bit further here. And I looked at what Kansas City's record is of late, playing 2 consecutive games on the road. and what the record of the second game is. And recently it is 1-4-1 against the spread. And then the Chiefs are also 0-7 if they're coming off against the spread, if they're coming off a victory by 14 or more points. Now, like most fans, Packer fans just need hope. Okay. So they got a couple of upset victories. They will be in full throat. Okay. I can guarantee you on Sunday night, and that throat will have been washed. Okay. With a great deal of brandy. I can also assure you of that. And for those that want some useless trivia, Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin consumes, this was probably as of about 2 decades ago, the last time I saw this, but I'm sure it hasn't changed, upwards of 70% of all the brandy that is purchased in the United States. So just keep that in mind, okay, as well. Now, Green Bay, they're 14-5 under LaFleur at Lambeau Field in the second half of the season, and the total is currently 42.5. And the Packers are 8-1 in home games when the total is between 42.5 and 45. The closer for me on this one, Ross, okay, underdogs like the Packers off 2 consecutive upset wins as an underdog with a winning percentage of less, or I should say between 40 and 49% in the second half of the season, are 31-9 against the spread. And in the last 5 years, this rare system is a perfect 6-0. I'm not saying Green Bay wins a game, Ross, but
Yeah.
take the Packers to cover this one.
Yeah, it looks like it might, like I said, it's an intriguing matchup that I never thought would have been when looking ahead a few weeks ago. But the Packers have now won 3 of their last 4. Their lone loss came at Pittsburgh, 23-19, against a pretty good Pittsburgh team, I guess, record-wise. I still think they're a fraud.
Right.
But big win against Detroit last week, and they earned every bit of that win. Again, they forced 3 fumbles by Jared Goff and recovered all 3 of them. So give them credit there. And they have not turned the ball over in their last 2 games, which coincidentally were wins. I'm going to look at a different angle here. I think this is going to be you look at a Kansas City game and a total of 42.5, like we alluded to with San Francisco being a favorite at Philadelphia, and the line looking fishy when you consider the fact San Fran has 3 losses, Philadelphia 1, Philadelphia undefeated, Philadelphia at home, Philadelphia best record in the NFL, yet San Francisco's the favorite. Well, Kansas City total at 42.5, Doug, really low. And it's, usually when that occurs, it's low for a reason. And again, I said it before and I'll say it again, and I've been mentioning this for quite some time now. I think this is the best defense that Andy Reid has had since he arrived in Kansas City, at least in recent seasons anyway. Those of you who follow the Chiefs adamantly might want to chime in with that on that in your comments. So I welcome those. But you look at Kansas City this year, they're 8-3 to the under. They did go over in their last game against the Raiders, 31-17. But again, they only allowed 368 yards and 17 points in that game. Their defensive efforts, 17, 21, 14, 17, 8, 20, 20, 10, 9, 21. Do you see something here, Doug? I do. That nobody scored over 24 points on the Chiefs all year. And in that contest was the one at Denver. Go figure. And they gave up 24 in that game, mostly due to they turned the ball over 5 times because the Broncos only had 240 yards. Then you look at Green Bay, and they've gone 4-1 to the under at home. You look at their home games in New Orleans, 18-17. They had the one high-scoring game against Detroit, but then Minnesota 24-10, the Rams 20-3. And then the Chargers game 23-20 that stayed under 44. And so they've been a very good underplay at home. And I know they've had their fair share of struggles offensively, meaning the Packers. But their defenses, and Doug, you could speak to this, their defenses pretty much held their own throughout the entire season. And if anything, when they have struggled, it's because their offense just can't able to sustain many drives and keeping them on the field too long. But your take on the total here, Doug?
Yeah, and this one, I agree with you, Ross, on this. You brought up a lot of great points. Now, the Packers' run defense is not good. Let's get that out there. But one thing they've done, though, is that they've been good in the red zone. Okay. And so, or just when the opposing team hits the 30-yard line, they've tightened up. Their pass defense, they do give up some big plays from time to time, but they have done the job all year. And so they're right around 20 points allowed on the season. So if this one ends up being 20-17, okay, I don't think anybody would be that surprised, to be perfectly honest, if you follow both of these teams this season. So it should be that. And obviously the weather is going to be cooler at night in Green Bay in December. Okay, so you have that going. So yeah, I'm with you. Take the under with the Packers and the Chiefs.
All right, but our official play is on the Green Bay Packers +6. That comes from Doug Upstone. Doug, tell the folks a little, before I get to my free pick, which is going to be in the game between the Lions and the Saints. Tell the folks a little bit about what's going on at DocSports.com. You might want to touch upon your pay-per-view podcast you do with Scotty Spreitzer and your own podcast, or your own videos, I should say. It's really not a podcast. Doug does a 5-6 minute video every day for Docs Tuesday through Sunday. But fill everybody in. You could speak better about yourself than I can.
Well, if I can't, we're all in trouble here on that one, Rod, from that standpoint. But anyways, yes. So we'll start with Scott Spreitzer night. It's called Us Against the Spread, and that's at usagainstthespread.docsports.com. What you get, basically what it is, it's a video newsletter. So if you've ever seen, whether it be the Gold Sheet, whether Mark Lawrence, whether it be, what's the other one, Power Sweep, those are some pretty common ones that are available. Those are all in print, okay? And so with those, the information typically comes out on Tuesday, and it's from Sunday and Monday that those games are written up. There's absolutely nothing wrong with those products. They have been around forever. Ross has worked on them. I have worked on them at times over the years with different people. So, they're great. But with what we're doing is that you're getting the opinions, for example, on every NFL game other than the Thursday game. Okay, because we're doing it on Friday. So with that, we're covering every single game that's left on the NFL card, and we have all the latest information on injuries, on line moves, whatever it happens to be. And both of us have winning records, okay, on these. Now, these are not our premium picks, so we're not putting our premium picks in there. But nonetheless, we've done extremely well, and our best bets have been great on those as well. Now, for example, this weekend, we got 10 college football games. So the Thursday show will have all 10, we'll be covering all 10 games. Again, we're not giving out our best bets, but we'll be covering information on sides and totals on all those. So it's $19.99 for a month, okay, of that. So that's $5 a week. So tremendous value from that. And as I've mentioned here before, ad nauseum, it's a great deal for those that want a lot of picks that don't want to spend a lot of money. We get it. Okay, that's why it's priced the way that it is. Personally, I mentioned NFL, 7 out of 10 winning weeks, Ross, on all best bets, along with hitting 75% on those particular best bets. So that has been great. Having a winning week in the NHL yet again. So had some nice winners coming up this week. College basketball, I've hit a speed bump on that. Going to get that turned around with December coming up. Some of those college tournaments kind of threw me for a loop a little bit, and so that it was the holiday tournaments, I should say, threw me for a loop a little bit. And then the NBA. I'm basically, my history has been, I'm a hot streak waiting to happen. Go through some 500 stuff, and then I just get hot. That's why I've won 4 of the last 5 years in the NBA. So it's just a matter of time before that kicks in again then too. So Russ, I know you're anxious to talk about those Saints and those Lions, so I'm turning it over to you, my friend.
All right, so let's get into that matchup. Thank you, Doug. And you could find Doug over at DocSports.com. You can see his daily videos he does, free pick videos Tuesday through Sunday. Those are listed at our sponsor site, gamblersworld.com as well. And you could find me at gamblersworld.net, folks, along with 9 other great handicappers. And like I always refresh upon, is the fact that we guarantee our picks at gamblersworld.net. If you don't win, you don't make a profit on any single game or multi-game daily package or subscription plan of 30 days or fewer, we will credit your account back the exact amount of your purchase price. That's gamblersworld.net. We're currently, right now, I am number one since the site's inception. Also, 38 and 28 with my NFL picks since week 2. That's good for 58%. College football since December 2nd of last year, which is all documented by the good folks over at Sports Capping, 68 and 46 during that time. That's good for 60%. My NBA sides, folks, been absolutely on fire since last year. Going back, I should say, not last year, but last season. Going back to April 11th, 47 and 18 with my last 65 NBA sides. That's 71%, folks. Doesn't get much better than that. College basketball starting to heat up, 3-1 the last 2 days, and 33 and 24 dating back to last season. That's a college basketball run for you at 58%. All sports 176 and 124 since August the 4th. That doesn't seem impressive to you? Well, it's 58%. And if you're a dime player, you've made close to $36,000 during that course of time. And there you have it. That's an update what's going on at gamblersworld.net. Not only with myself, but folks, check out the other 9 great handicappers there. And once again, our picks are all guaranteed. The Lions and the Saints. The Lions right now are a 4-point favorite. The total in this game is 47. I'm going to concentrate on the total here. The New Orleans Saints have gone under the total in 8 of 11 games this year. And it's not like they're going under with high totals. Their average total in those 11 games is 41.3. The average total in this, or the total, I should say, in this contest as we speak, and we are recording on Thursday, November the 30th. So keep that in mind because this total could change depending on when you view the video. New Orleans, on the other hand, here's another thing. They're 6-1 to the under this year when the total is 41.5 or greater. 5-1, excuse me. So it's another thing to keep in mind. Once they go over what their average is for the total for the year, they're even higher probability to go under the total. This is a Detroit team that's enjoying a great season, right? They're 8-3. Yeah. Hey, the Lions are comfortably in first place. Everybody seems to be in their corner because they've had so much lack of success over the last 2-3 decades. Again, franchise history, maybe going back to the 60s, that everybody's pulling for Detroit in some way, shape, or form, it seems. But you know what? The last 2 weeks have been unimpressive. I mean, Chicago, they needed a miracle comeback in the last few minutes of that game to pull that one out, 31-26. And their last game on Thanksgiving Day, they were beaten by the Green Bay Packers, 29-22 as an 8.5-point favorite. The problem in those 2 games, as I see it, has been their inability to secure the football, and namely Jared Goff in particular. Detroit has committed 7 turnovers in the last 2 games, 6 of which have come by Jared Goff. He lost 3 fumbles in that Packers loss, and he threw 3 interceptions in the win against Chicago. Very fortunate to come out on top in that game. I look for Detroit to lean more on their potent running game. Now, Detroit, you might not realize it, but this is a high ratio for the NFL. They're running the ball 46% of their offensive plays this season. But I see that number rising even more here because they're going to be going up against a Saints team that has a pretty good defense against the pass, but against the run, it's been another story. The Lions, by the way, they're averaging over their last 4 games, 169 yards rushing per game, over 5 yards per carry. And you're looking at a New Orleans run defense that over their last 4 games has given up 168 yards a game and 5.2 yards per rushing attempt. And I mentioned their pass defense. They're only allowing 193.6 yards per game over their last 7. You could say some of that is because teams have leaned heavily on the running game against them, since their inability to stop the run is quite evident. But they have played good pass defense because otherwise you're setting yourself up for play action pass against you when you give up the run that much, and they've held their own in that regard. New Orleans also, they're only averaging 20.8 points per game this season. And that includes an even lower 18.3 points per game in their 4 games at home. And under Dan Campbell, Detroit is 5-0 to the under on the road when coming off an ATS loss. And obviously they are. They're 29-22 loss against Green Bay. They were an 8.5-point favorite. In those 5 games under Dan Campbell, coming off an ATS loss on the road, those games only combined average of 34.8 points per game. New Orleans, the last 2 years in December, this will be their first game this December, but the last 2 years, they played 7 games in December. All 7 have gone under the total. And since Dennis Allen has taken over as head coach in New Orleans, which his tenure began last season, they're 19-9 to the under. So it's not like low-scoring games or anything new since Dennis Allen came aboard. So I'm going to go under the total here, Doug. The Lions and the Saints under the total of 47.
Excuse me. Yes, I agree with that, Ross. The other things that come into play here is that there's some health issues for New Orleans, that things we don't exactly know. Now, last week, all 3 of their top receivers ended up not finishing the game. Olave had a concussion, so I have not heard if he's a go or not yet. So we'll have to see on that. But even when all 3 of those guys are there, okay, the offense still has a spark. So what's the problem? Well, it's twofold. It starts with Derek Carr. Derek Carr is, I believe, a tremendous human being, okay? He's just not a tremendous quarterback. He's proven that with the Raiders. That's why they got rid of him. He's come to New Orleans. Pretty much, it really, if you think of it, in an ideal situation, having 3 receivers of that quality that they have, and yet still hasn't figured out a way to connect with them. And then also having Alvin Kamara in the backfield. Again, where's the short passing game with Kamara? Okay, it's not there. So, they just don't produce. So I look at it that way from the totals to where I agree with you. The other aspect of it where I'm going to go with Detroit, even though -4 is probably a little higher than I'd actually like, I'm still going to go with it from the standpoint of something that you mentioned about the run defense for the Saints. And I agree with you. I think Detroit will run the ball quite a bit more. And last week, their defensive end Cam Jordan was injured. Again, have not heard if he's a go yet or not. And Marshawn Lattimore remains out. And even though their pass defense has been good, Detroit has a lot of guys, okay, that can get open, okay. And if Goff doesn't turn the ball over and delivers the ball, they should score on them. So from that standpoint, I'm going to go with -4 and agree with you with Detroit, and agree with you on the under in that one, Ross.
All right. So our official play is Detroit under 47. Doug's official play on the Chiefs and Packers game. He likes the Packers plus the 6 at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. And we filled in for Chip on the San Francisco and Philadelphia game, and Doug's lean is on San Francisco -2.5. My lean is on that particular matchup to go over the total of 47. Now, folks, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I don't know what you're waiting for. You've been watching this. You enjoy sports betting, or you wouldn't have watched this program this long. So it's a no-brainer. It's absolutely free. Who doesn't like things that are free? So if you click on that WC logo in the bottom right-hand corner of your video box, that's if you're watching on your PC, or the black subscribe button if you're watching on your smart TV or your mobile device, that'll get you all signed up and subscribed for free. And I would just ask, even if you have subscribed already and you haven't done this yet, and for all you new subscribers, subscribing, we appreciate it. We've got 11,700 subscribers or something like that. We can't be more elated, and we appreciate each and every one of you. But why not make your life easier? Go into your YouTube settings and click on the alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, and you'll be notified immediately upon us publishing any of our podcasts, which there's 6 of them a week on this channel. So it makes your life a lot easier, folks. There's also a like button, Doug, right underneath us, and you could tell them what they should do with that like button.
Absolutely. See, if you got a mouse, okay, something like that, and here we go. You just have to click once. You don't have to do it multiple times. Just do it once, and then you're all good, okay, from that standpoint. And then Ross and I will have big smiles on our faces and thank you for hitting the like button.
There you go. See the smile already, because I know many of you have hit that like button. It's just a small token of your appreciation for the time, work, and effort we put into this podcast to give you a quality product, and also to make you a smarter sports bettor today than you were yesterday. And that's our goal each and every day. It's been our goal from this get-go, and it will continue to be our goal going forward. So it's not always all about the free pick winners or free picks in general, folks. It's about listening to the analysis on each game. It's about listening to our conversations when it comes to sports betting topics, where you could pick up and hopefully absorb some of that information to make you a smarter sports bettor today than yesterday. And yes, we do promote ourselves here. Okay. This is what we do for a living. Not only do we bet our own games, but we also sell our picks online. And I know a couple guys have made some smart comments about, I think you should either quit the show or stop with all the promos. Well, folks, that's not going to happen. And I'm sure you can understand. Ask yourself, what do you do for a living? And ask yourself, when was the last time your boss asked you to work for free? Okay, so it's business 101. It's what it's all about. But in any event, hope you continue to join us in that regard. For Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, I'd like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. I will be back tomorrow with Sean Higgs and with Jesse Schule, as we'll be doing our live show at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Speaking of comments, a lot of you are very brave on the comments with the archived portions of our podcast. Why not come on live? We come on at 3 p.m. Eastern time and ask us or make some comments or get our feedback on anything that's on your mind in the world of sports betting, and get an answer from us immediately. Don't hide behind these. Don't be a texting tough guy, folks. Get on live, and we promise we'll be as respectful as possible if you're respectful in terms of our replies. All right. Take care, and God bless, folks.